So I've got an issue because I don't really fit into conventional clothing. When you look at my body, you will realize that I have a very small waist, which is partly because I wear a corset, but also I just naturally, even without a corset, have quite a small waist. My bust line isn't overly massive, but then I have these really big hips right here. So if I was to buy trousers or a tightly fitted skirt, that just doesn't work. So I learned how to sew because I just couldn't find clothes that actually fit me. But I know not everyone can sew their own clothes, and I actually sometimes do buy clothes or get clothes for collaborations, and then I have to fit them myself. So this is what we're going to do today. I received a bunch of clothes recently, and I need to fit the waistline of these because I got them in quite a big size to accommodate for the hips, which means the waist is going to be way too big. First up, we've got the stunning skirt from Emmy Design. I mean, look at this fabric. I actually opened the package and I said, oh wow, to myself as I was looking at this. Stunning herringbone striped linen, I think. So this is a size 40, which will fit my hips, but definitely not my waist. Then I've got the exact same skirt in black. This is a thinner linen, so it's going to be really nice for summer, but also I've been wanting to have a skirt that's black for ages. I do have one from Son de Floor that is striped, but you guys know I wear a lot of baguette outfit inspired outfits. So this will work really well with it if I wanted to wear a skirt rather than trousers. And then, talking about baguette outfits, I also got myself a pair of trousers, which I already have in multiple colors. I love these trousers. They're from Halara, they're corduroy, and this is what I usually tend to wear with my baguette outfits on days that I don't wear a corset. So I wear these around the house all the time. Got them in a size large, tall, because it's a mid-rise, and I obviously wanted to actually reach my waist. And they're also very long, and I want them to be shortened and kind of folded up to have this baguette look that Mael's wearing. So now, as a little disclaimer, because I know people are shouting advertisements at you all over the internet, I want to say the Emmy Design things were gifted to me and the Halara things I bought myself. But this video isn't part of the collaboration with Emmy Design because I just take pictures for them, post them on Instagram. So I thought the tailoring, it would be something fun to do, even though the items were gifted. Let's try these on so that we can talk about the problems with the fit currently. So there is a quick way of fixing this, and there is a proper way of fixing this. So with these skirts, because they're really nicely made and a good brand, I will do it the proper way. Whereas with the trousers, which I'm going to do after this, we're going to do it the quick way, which is how I've done all of my other Halara trousers as well. It's not as neat, but it's really quick. So depending on whether you're going for proper tailoring or very quick but kind of works and no one's going to see it, both methods are going to be included in this video. So Emmy Design are actually really smart, and they've made it in such a way that the tailoring will be super easy. So we can open up the side seams here and easily access the waistband without having to open up the waistband all over the skirt. And this, on the other hand, is the pair of Halara trousers, which is fitting at all. It looks actually really silly. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this up so that it actually sits on the waist, and then you see this is even worse than the Emmy Design skirt. Look at how, and it's also elastic at the back, so I can actually like stretch, like a second me could fit into this. And I know that my hips are bigger than most people's hips. I can take this on and off without even opening the front. But so here we actually need to take very, very, very much out of the back, like probably close to, how much is that, like maybe 6 inches. This is going to be the project where we do it the very easy way, because this doesn't have an easily accessible waistband, and it also has all of this elastic in the waistband, and it's black and I don't actually care. So what we're gonna do is we're actually just going to take the trousers and pull them in. And all of the side seams have the pockets. So if I was to take this out of the side seams, the pockets would shrink. So I just have like the teeniest, tiniest bit here to get into the pocket. So I'll just pull it all together and take it out of the back seam here and just kind of cut along here to fit it to my backside. That will take us literal seconds to do. But before we do that, let's get started with the skirt first so that you guys learn how to do it properly first. So welcome to the very first step of doing the fitting properly. The first thing we're going to do is a little bit scary because we're going to go in and take this perfectly wearable garment and we're going to try to open the side seams right here. Good job. An eternity later, you're going to have something that looks like this. So I've just opened up the side seam this far on both sides. And then this bit here was sewn down. So I also opened that up so I have access to the waistband now. So this is now where the even scarier part will happen, where we take this entire back section of the waistband off. Because I am aware that if I was to just take some out of the side seams, the back would actually bulge up a little bit. So this is a problem I had with a previous skirt that I altered that way. So I do also want to get into the back and alter these two seams here. And that can only happen properly and nicely and neatly if we take off the waistband. So a little bit more unpicking to do. So here we are, we've got the back waistband detached and the skirt now looking a little bit in shambles, but don't worry, we're going to fix this eventually. So now I'm going to go in and pin these seams a little bit tighter and the side seam as well. And I'm just going to try this on and see how I need to manipulate these seams to make it fit to my body. So I've tried everything on inside out just so I could change the seams with the pins as I was fitting it. This bit here doesn't sit right currently because of the angle. I can't really get to it. So it's a bit difficult currently to imagine what it will look like eventually because the front waistband is loose. But I mainly wanted to take the fabric out of these two back seams here rather than the side seams, because the side seams is where the pockets are as well. And as I said, I didn't want it to bulge at the back here. So I took about 1 centimeter here. So one from this side, one from that side. And then at the back here, it's more like 1.5 on each. And I think that should work. But I also want to say, if you are a little bit sensitive about needle pricks, be wary of this. Maybe use some safety pins or baste down the seams rather than putting pins in. I feel like I have become completely immune to needle pricks. That is just what comes with being a seamstress. But if you don't care for that, try using different pinning methods, because otherwise you'll hurt yourself. And this is also why it's important to try it on inside out, because the pins are on the outside. Still, they will prick you, but a little bit less. So I am kind of happy with how this sits now. So I will go in with my sewing machine and try to find a thread that is similar to the one that Emmy Design used, even though they do also give you a little bit of thread, but just not enough to do lots of alterations. And I will just stitch down the seams the way I think is right. And then I'm going to try on again just to double check before I cut off any extra seam allowance. So the back seams are now fitted and overlocked, which means now the next step is reattaching the waistband, which will now be a little bit too big because we've taken quite a bit out of the back panel. So the way I normally attach waistbands is I will first attach it like this to the wrong side, then it will be turned over, and here I will top stitch it on the right side. The waistband has been attached at the back. I've also overlocked the sides here again. So now it's just a matter of closing up the side seams, and I will also take in about 1 centimeter here just to fit it a little bit more. And with that, the side seams are done as well and not looking very good at the moment. Whoop, you can't even see it. We're going to try this on one more time. One last little try on, and we've got an absolutely perfectly fitted skirt. I am about half an hour into the first episode of the second part of the 4th season of Bridgerton. So half an hour of actual sewing and then a little bit more time of chatting with you guys. So maximum an hour to get this fitted properly. And this is so much better, and I'm honestly so happy with what it sits like, Because like I said, I had a similar skirt from Emmy Design some time ago that I just fitted on the side seams, and then I had it pop out at the back, but I think it also had a zipper at the back, and you know how much I hate zippers, so I wasn't willing to take that one out and put it back in. Because this has the closure at the front, it allowed me to just fit it at the back as well, and it's super cute. I love it very much. So the last things that I now need to do is I need to finish off the side seams, so actually iron them outward, and then previously there was a little stitch securing the seam allowance to the sides, so I'm going to do that as well. And other than that, we are finished with this skirt. So before we jump in and do the next project, I will give you a little overview of what this looks like, and I'll actually put on some shoes. So this is going to be our midway reveal. So with the skirt done, there is no time to rest, because now we are going to fit the trousers the quick and easy and dirty way. So as you can tell, I'm actually wearing the trousers the wrong way around again. So I now start out by pulling them up to make sure they actually properly sit on the waist where I want them to sit. And now just pull them back, and I realize there is a lot of fabric to be dealt with. To show you a little close-up of what I'm doing here. They're really, really big. There is a lot of fabric that needs to go. And in this case, I actually don't want them to fit them to my corset. I want to wear them on a normal day-to-day without a corset as well. So I don't want them to be overly tight, but then also there is stretch in the waistband. So even if I fitted them super tightly, it just is very stretchy. So similar to what we just did before, make sure everything sits right. Pulling everything into place, and then I just place a little pin at the back as a guide for me to see kind of what I'm working with here. So this is still rather loose for my corseted waist, but I think for my non-corseted waist this will be good. So I've just quickly put on the trousers the right way around while having pinned in the back, so you can see there is tons of excess fabric just here, which I will work out by basically sewing along the waistband and then into the back seam as well to get rid of any bulk. So you might be wondering, why is this the quick and dirty way? Why didn't we just do the exact same thing with the skirt we just did? Well, by doing this, we basically create a seam right at the back, and it's not gonna be overly tidy. Let me show you the skirt again. With these two seams that I altered, the waistband doesn't show it, because if I had gone in and just altered the seams by doing what I'm doing right now, I would have created additional seams within the waistband and it would have looked quite messy. So this is nice and tidy, whereas with this one, there will be this additional seam in the back, but then it is black and it is kind of my wearing at home walking Archie trousers, so I'm actually not too bothered. I've pinned this in, I've tried it on, and I'm just gonna go rogue and just sew into it however I think is right. And the good thing is we're not gonna cut anything off just now. We're just gonna sew into it, try on, and if we're happy, that's when we'll start cutting some stuff out. So let's get out some black thread and let's place this one seam.
Your mother, it will be expected eventually. 1 second, son. I'm not even...
So I've sewn along the pins I've just showed you, and now the back seam looks like this. So because it's quite dark, you can't see it as much. The corduroy kind of runs into an arrow shape for its pattern. So it doesn't actually look too bad, but obviously it's not really perfect around here, which is hard to see, so lucky me. Okay, quick try on, but bad news, it is still way too big. I mean, look at that. So I guess I'll have to take another 2 inches or so out. So it's still a little bit big, but then as I said, I'm not actually planning to wear this with a corset, and it's still very stretchy, but I also want it to be quite comfy. So I think without a corset, this now will fit quite fine, but there is still another issue with these trousers. I'll show you, but first I put on my slippies so you don't see my toes because I don't like feet. So currently they fit a little bit more like Lune's trousers than Miles. So we're going to deal with the cuff. So let me show you how this is done. Basically the idea is we fold inward like this to do the folding upward. But that leaves us with tons of fabric almost going up to here. So we don't need that much, which means basically I can cut a little bit off before I do the fitting. So historically, from having worked with these trousers before, I know that I need to about cut this much off the bottom. Let's do it. Okay, so some has been removed, which means now we basically have trousers the length of my leg. So as I said, I will kind of just fold inwards and then we can fold upwards. So now when I'm feeling inside, the unfinished hem is actually hidden underneath this fold. That means I can now zigzag over this unfinished edge here, and when I fold this up, the zigzag that you might be able to see outside will be invisible. What is it, my angel, huh? Oh. I am honestly so proud of us that we managed to do 3 garments, and it is barely after lunchtime currently. So with this skirt, I actually ended up fitting it more similarly to the way I fitted the trousers. Because even though I said at the beginning there is like a proper way of doing it where you take the waistband off and fit everything, put it back on. And then there's the improper way where you just kind of like, just put a dart in, And I think both ways of doing it have their time and place. Like I think about the skirt that we did at first, the fabric is quite thick. So if I had gone in and just kind of placed a dart, there would have been a lot of bulk. We did the right thing in doing this the proper way. However, because we did it the proper way, that means we cannot alter it back. So it's permanently altered now. I cut off the excess seam allowance. It is what it is and we cannot go back. With this skirt, what I did is I actually altered it alongside these 2 seams here and then added the darts into the waistband. This is a very thin fabric, and again it's black, so it kind of swallows up any imperfections anyways. But that means that the bulk from creating this dart is actually not really adding to the waistline at all. It's not really in the way. Could probably do with a little iron, but as you know me, I will do that some other time. So I think that was the best thing to do for this black skirt, and especially that means that if in the future I decide I want to wear this skirt without a corset, I could just take the dart out. It would probably still be too big for my waist, but I can just put in a smaller dart. So that allows me a little bit of freedom in the future to fit it again, which can be a very good thing because obviously bodies change and it's annoying when you've got tight fitting clothes that you constantly have to change clothes because your body changes. So it's good to do some semi-permanent alterations just to allow for this change. With the trousers, on the other hand, it is a permanent alteration because there was just so very much seam allowance that I just cut everything off. But again, this is super stretchy and it's actually fitted to just fit my natural waist anyways. So yeah, I don't see these not fitting unless, I don't know, I got pregnant, but then I guess eventually I'd fit into them again. But I'm very excited that I now have black baguette trousers. I think I will still replace the button because the button is kind of like natural colored, as all of the buttons with this line of trousers are, but a black button would probably be a better choice. So I can now do an even more accurate baguette outfit, which I'm obviously very excited about. And with having new trousers, I might be working on making a new baguette top. And since you guys know I started knitting recently, I might be knitting a 1940s inspired baguette top, but from quite thick wool because, as you guys know, it is always really cold in Scotland. Saying that is always cold. Today was actually the first day in Scotland that it was not absolutely freezing. And you know, the funny thing about Scotland is as soon as the sun comes out in spring, everyone's like half naked. I don't know. It's just, you go out and everyone, especially men, are just wearing shorts. And it's just like, it's really not that warm, you know? But then you get into this kind of dilemma where it's like, if you wear thick clothes because it is actually like 4 degrees, then you look like a tourist. But if you dress like the locals, then you'll freeze to death. So what do we do? I actually ended up going out with this jumper and just a cardigan and my other skirt I was wearing earlier. And actually I'm just wearing nylon tights today. It's the first day of the year that I'm not wearing knit tights. It was chilly, but they couldn't tell I was foreign. But that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial style video. I know you guys were asking for more step-by-step directions on most of my videos. I have to say, I often kind of struggle with like figuring out what I'm actually doing. Like I'm very organized in a way that I can't explain. So things kind of make sense and I'll just do them in a certain way, but I don't really know why. I'm just self-taught. I just do stuff and then I try things and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I often feel like I'm not necessarily qualified to give you a step-by-step instruction because I'm very sure there's better ways to doing things. And so you shouldn't listen to me. So that's why I often like skim over things I do. This time, because I was doing something I've done many times before and I actually somewhat know what I'm doing, I thought, let's try this type of video and see how you guys like it. But that is all from me today. So future videos will be more knitting, more sewing. I am actually planning a spring project for my next video and it's going to be exactly this color. That's all from me. I hope you have a lovely day and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.